growing questions in President Biden's classified document scandal over exactly who had access to Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home, where one set of the docs were found, in the garage and some other part of the house. Still no answers from the White House on all the details. In fact, we're not getting anything, which maintains its kept no formal log of visitors argument, too. That's what the White House is saying. However, on that point, Fox News has learned that while the White House may not have a formal log, the Secret Service does. They keep a list of people who have regular access to a president's home. And the Secret Service says it is prepared to offer up those names. All the individuals who visited Biden's home if requested by Congress. Meanwhile, we are getting clearer answers to what kind of access Hunter Biden had to the house, or at least the Corvette inside the garage where Biden said the classified documents were stored with the car. Resurfaced video shows Hunter Biden heading to the president's Wilmington home just 4 days before the classified files. And 4 days before they were found, actually, in the garage, next to the president's Corvette, as I mentioned. Newly published photos show Hunter behind the wheel of that same, it's a Stingray, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And those pictures were back from 2017. We're also learning Hunter's memoir, Beautiful Things, that he was quarantined at the Delaware home awaiting the presidential election results. But despite growing questions, the White House continues to stonewall. Watch.
The Justice Department has not told the White House that it cannot talk about the facts underlying the special counsel investigation into classified documents. So trusting you've received that same information, understanding the desire to be prudent, then why can't you speak about the underlying facts?
We've been very clear when it comes to even underlying facts, when it comes to specifics, when it comes to something that is under the purview, that the Department of Justice is looking at, especially legal matters, investigations, we do not comment from here, Peter.
All right, two things, Kellyanne. Who's got the egg timer for how long it's going to take Congress to ask the Secret Service for the list of people who were at that house?
Those sands have sifted. Time has run out. I mean, Oversight Chairman James Comer was already going to investigate the Biden family connection. Why? Because, Harris, there are countries that are in the news every day, Ukraine, China, chief among them, where we know Frank Biden, certainly Hunter Biden, maybe the big guy himself, had business dealings. We have a right to know that, especially if, as we all expect, Joe Biden's going to run for a second term, but he currently is the president. Look, I had 24/7 Secret Service protection because of all the crazy people addled by Trump derangement syndrome after he shocked the world and won. That was uncomfortable. I wasn't used to that. I grew up very modestly, nothing even close to that. Secret Service know exactly who's coming and going. We can cobble together informally who was visiting this Delaware home. I'm interested in knowing how many times Dr. Kevin, the president's personal doctor, has been there, and with how many oxygen tanks, for example. But in the case of Hunter Biden, this was his residence. He had a driver's license at this home. So the question to how much access did Hunter Biden have to the home and to the garage, and thereby extension the classified documents, is the same access you have to your home. This is where he lived. So the access was unfettered. Also, all of their defenses so far only point to culpability. It's not a matter of degree. It's whether you pass that bar, whether you recklessly and negligently handle the material. The other thing that I think bothers many people is that I am yet to see any interview, any statement from the podium, anybody who speaks on behalf of President Biden, which I will include there 90% of the mainstream media, be able to answer a question about Biden's handling of classified documents without saying Trump 5 times in the sentence. Put that aside. Let's do it from the prism of the law and what our national security, the sources and methods, what this demands.
But they don't do that. You're the only person on the couch who has worked in a White House. You were
and had a top secret security clearance.
Senior
you know
advisor
what you can't do.
To former President Trump. Senior advisor, and I put a lot of emphasis on that because inside the White House, you cannot convince me that the line that they're coming out with now is going to fly, or that they think it is. So Kellyanne, what should they be cooking up? Because they want everybody to say these words. It's the economy. Oh, Americans care more about this. I saw some of this getting floated last night on some of the liberal-friendly networks.
Well, if Joe Biden is bragging about this economy, you know they've got a lot to hide with the handling of the classified documents. But Harris, you know, we got briefings from day one about the handling of classified information, about our phones maybe being like microphones for China, for example, our personal phones, put those in a locker. You wouldn't even want to have one of those documents past the time when you need to. The best place to view them is in a SCIF and just leave it there, the secured compartmentalized.
A Corvette doesn't fit in a
Corvette doesn't fit. And look, it doesn't, I think what's really important here is they're the buttoned up, tightened up Biden people. They're the adults. The adults have arrived. We're not the Keystone cops that work for Donald Trump who don't know what they're doing, never been in Washington before. So I think even when they try to do different standards, they're putting themselves in a cul-de-sac, and the Democrats have a problem. They're stuck with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as their nominees because they pretend they had such a great midterm. They only had a great midterm because they weren't allowed to campaign.
A new Quinnipiac poll shows 60% of voters say they believe Biden acted inappropriately in the way he's handled the classified documents. Guy.
Kellyanne just made a point that I hadn't thought of until you said that. President Biden's experience in Washington, what is it, 100 years he's been there?
It's 50.
It makes it worse.
Yes.
Right? He has been at the highest levels of government as a U.S. Senator, Vice President, and President for his entire adult life, basically. He, of anyone, should know better and did know better. I think that the defenses are extremely weak. It's just a brick wall with Karine Jean-Pierre, with this made-up, you said last hour on the Faulkner Focus, like they're just making it up as they go along what the standards are. We can't comment on this. I remember when the president commented on the culpability of Border Patrol agents and amplified a lie and basically declared them guilty as president before there was even an investigation. Yes. But now they can't comment on this whatsoever. Come on.
You know what, though? The politics of all of this seem to be where they're pitching. I mean, does anybody doubt that that's not the reason why we didn't find out until now about what happened on November 2nd when the president's private attorneys, high-paid attorneys, went to go get these documents that were among his personal things? Like, he didn't know that they were going to be there, so he made sure he sent them and not the FBI or the DOJ. The DOJ has already started to bite back. I put up that poll to show that the American people are kind of biting back, too. Like 60 to 70% of them don't believe that he's doing this right. But the DOJ, for them to say, Emily, actually, we didn't tell you you couldn't talk. You could talk all you want about this. What does that mean?
That's right. There's that pushing back. And I think in light of that poll, in light of the mainstream media finally coming around, I wonder if this perhaps is the tipping point, which leads me to my question to you, Kellyanne. With your pulse on Washington, what is happening right now in the Democratic establishment? Are they having a Titanic ship sinking moment? Are they smug and gleeful because this was orchestrated? Not the classified documents, but the release of it timing-wise. What's going on to them right now with all of this seeming implosion where we might finally have some accountability as American citizens?
Most of them, it seems to me, are just like the NBC reported, the CBS reported, the mainstream media. They're upset with the Biden folks for concealing this, for having the second consecutive election where the public was denied full access to all the information that may have influenced. Now, you can sit there and say, I don't care about that. It doesn't influence my vote. Guy said that's my number one issue, perhaps. We as the voters need to know the full vista. And I would say in answer to your question what Jim Clyburn, the congressman from South Carolina, who basically handed Joe Biden the nomination in 2020, what he said yesterday. He warned Democrats, do not run against Joe Biden. He'll be our nominee. They're afraid that they're shoving this guy out, but they're totally stuck with him because they somehow pretend that he was the leader of the party during the midterms. I think the Democrats are stuck also because when Trump is your standard for everything, when everything that you do and say in your life is through the prism of Donald Trump, you get stuck in political cul-de-sacs like this. Harris, I don't think they've got a politics and optics problem. I think they have a fact problem.
Oh. That's worse.
Real quick, that Quinnipiac poll, really quick, more than 60% of independents say it was inappropriate.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.